I wanted to start watercolor painting and I wanted to get all that information, this would be it. Brands, basics, and a little bit of explanation. All right, so if you're a fountain pen user, you know that paper is super important. That's why we get ourselves some Hobonichi. Isn't that such a huge difference? That is the power of a good teacher. Hi, this is Kai from Kikai Craft, and recently I have been veering just a little bit away from fountain pens. Not a lot, I still use my fountain pens regularly, but I was thinking of how to maximize my use of my inks because I've been growing a vast collection of inks, and I have always been a frustrated watercolor painter, artist. And so I thought maybe it's time for me to go and try that again. So I have been dabbling with watercolor painting recently, and I wanted to share a little bit of that experience with everyone because, as always, my objective here is to educate people, and especially on things that I found a little tricky to get information about when I started. And so today I'm going to share with you what you'll need to have with you when you start with your watercolor painting journey. All right, this is not a new chapter, it's like a sub chapter of my fountain pen journey. I mean, kind of. Anyway, so when I wanted to try watercolor painting, I found like a lot of information, and because there's a lot of information, it was a bit tricky to navigate that information. So I thought maybe I should put all that information together and share it with those who want to start with watercolor painting. So just like with fountain pens, you'll need colors. Okay, that would be your paints. You need brushes, that would be or pens, that would be your brushes, and you need really good paper. So the same trifecta applies: your tool, your medium, and your paper. So paintbrush, paints, and paper. Still very, very important. So I started off with an online course, and in that online course, they gave like a list of materials that I needed, and I have put all of them in this Galen leather box. Really, really good boxes, Galen leather. And I will show you everything that I thought I needed. Ta-da! Because they said okay, minus the knife. Because they said I'd need all these things. And honestly, with everything that you see in front of you, what I really just needed from the list that they gave me was the paper, the paint, and the brushes, which are no longer here. I used to have them here. And that was it. The pencils I have yet to use. Okay, so I'll leave this out because this is definitely something we need. And this beautiful contraption, also known as a disposable knife, is needed for this. All right, so I'll put that aside. But for the rest of it, I found that I have yet to need it. So I'm gonna put this away. All right, so what exactly do we need, and how did I find out what I needed? I went to an on-site watercolor painting class with Jerome at Jerome _ Jonathan. He works with the Parapa Society here in Jakarta. I think he actually owns it, but I'm not very sure. And he puts together classes. So I went to 2 of his classes. The first one that I went to just brought great results. Give me a second. So about 2 or 3 days before I went to his class, and while I was taking the online course, I decided I wanted to play a little bit with watercolor. I didn't know what paper to use. It just said paper, and I didn't know what paint to use, so I just grabbed the paint that was in an art studio that was near my place. So I asked for a tiny bit of all the colors, and even the art teacher there didn't really give me a good idea of what I needed. She just asked, okay, what colors, and she just gave me a little bit of everything that I asked for without explaining much. Not this person's fault. She was not hired to teach me. She was there and very kindly shared paint with me. So with rudimentary knowledge, like basically no knowledge, I came out with this beautiful masterpiece. I had no clue what I was doing. I just thought, I want to try it. And of course, I was very, very frustrated with how it turned out. But I was thinking to myself, never mind, I'm trying. And then 2 days later, I attended Jerome's class. And this is what I came out with. Ta-da! Oops, minus the rubber band. Okay, there. Isn't that such a huge difference? That is the power of a good teacher. So thank you, Jerome. I'm quite impressed. So from here to here. Obviously, I still have a long way to go, but for a beginner, this was such a stark difference. So a lot of the things that I'll be sharing today will be bits of information that I took from Jerome's class and bits of information that Maria from Awkpie draws. That's AWKPIE full stop draws on Instagram. That's Maria. And she shared with me what she thought I'd be needing fountain pen wise, and a little bit about colors that I'll be needing for this whole journey. But today I'll just share the basics. So what materials do you need to go from something like this to something like this? Not as many and as complicated as I first thought. So I'm going to share it with you. So unlike fountain pens, you don't start with the tool. You actually start with the colors when you go into watercolor painting. And I didn't know that. I just followed what was on the online course, and I went and I bought yellow and blue. And I got it, I got this brand. Do you say Holbein? Is that how you pronounce it? I'm not so sure. I got this brand, so expensive, so I just got two just to start myself off, because I was thinking to myself I'd be going to Jerome's class. He would get me more information. So I just had these two with me just to practice with, okay? Because one of the exercises required two contrasting colors, and those were the colors that the person used on that online course. And I cannot find what I came up with. When I do, I will show it here. I'm pretty sure I prepared it, but now I cannot find it. I'm going through all the paper that I have. Here, I found it. Okay. So this was one of the first exercises in that online course, and I needed yellow and blue for it. And that's why I got those two colors. Thankfully though, when I went to Jerome's class, he taught us a little bit about the colors that we need. And at the end of it, he also shared with us a palette that he thought beginners could use at the beginning of their journey. And this is that set. So he has this set ready for you. When you join him in his classes, you can use what's there. And if you want to purchase your own, you can, but he has curated it already. Suffice to say that this 12 color set has some warm colors and cool colors of the same color. Okay, I'm not really into all this art stuff. I don't know if it's called tones or hues or whatever, but it's like if you have a yellow, you have a warm yellow and you have a cool yellow. And if you get your reds, you have a warm red and you have a cool red. I don't know so much about it yet that I can share with you that information, but a few of the colors in the palette that he introduced to us are colors that I often hear about when I read when I listen to YouTube videos about the basics of watercolor painting, and when I read books, I read a lot about these colors. So they would include cadmium red, there's also cadmium yellow, then viridian green, and phthalo blue, indigo blue, he has it here as well, and a lot of other colors. Now, if you're wondering, oh, sorry, also browns. So there's a lot of blues, some greens, yellows, purples, reds, no blacks, no whites. And if you're wondering, ask the brand, because I was wondering which brand would be good. Masters is a good enough brand for beginners. In fact, I've been using it and it's just nice. And also Maurice, quite good as well. This whole video is not affiliated in any way. I'm not sponsored. I'm just sharing the information that I know. So again, you don't need to go to super expensive brands just yet unless you're a professional. And if you're watching this, you're a beginner like me. So Masters and Maurice, good enough. So these colors would be about, if you're in Indonesia, about 15 to 20,000 rupiah. So that would be about $1, yeah, roughly $1 for each tube. So you need your paints, and that's one of the important things that you need. And of course, oops, you need a place to put that paint. And I was a little bit excited about painting because I saw this, ooh, cat hair, loads of cat hair, on Instagram. And I thought it was like the coolest thing, and it is a very cool thing. Go Draws has really good ones. It's also available in Indonesia. It's like a wooden palette. So I bought the palette and I bought these half pans, oh no, mini pans for it as well. Okay, so you need a paint holder like this, and of course you'll need your brush. Okay, but this is what I actually started with, these. But then after playing around a little bit more after Jerome's class, I thought I needed something just a bit more substantial. So this is good for like just a one sitting, I suppose. But if you need something more substantial, you need a bigger palette. So I have this. Okay, so you'll need something that's like this. As you can see, I have been using it with this palette. This is a plastic palette. This is a watercolor paint palette. I know there's so many palettes here, but I still don't know how to differentiate it. But then you'll need something like this. So this is when I'm home and I want to play, but I also got myself one of these, and this is another palette, like a travel palette, and it has these. Okay, these are half pans, so they're a little bigger than the one I showed you, and it's like a condensed version. Okay, all of the things that I'm sharing here, if you're interested to get, I'm gonna leave links at the description box. Links to Tokopedia if you're in Indonesia. A lot of the prices that I'm citing here are based off Tokopedia. And if you're not in Indonesia, I'll be sharing affiliate links from Amazon. So you just have like an idea where to begin. Okay, so paint and paint holders. That's one of the first things you need. Nothing super special, nothing too expensive. Masters, Maurice are really good. And then simple palettes like this are also good to have. Okay, don't go like, oh, I saw like box specials and all that. Really good, super expensive, not super necessary when you're beginning. So now you have your colors, okay, and your color holders. Next thing you'll need, of course, would be your brushes, okay? And like I said, unlike fountain pens, you start with a pen, then you get your inks. For watercolors, you get your paints, then you get your tools. And again, when I started, I didn't really know which ones to get, because if you watch a lot of YouTube videos like I do, you'll find that there are different brands for these things. So actually I started with these, And these are like available here in Indonesia. So we have the Joico brand. The art teacher from where I got the paints from said Joico is good enough for beginners, and I think, yeah, I agree. And I also got some VTech because well, they look nice. And they were roughly the sizes that the online course asked me to get, which would be size 4 and size 6. And so then I have a size 1 for like super fine work, they said. And so I got myself these, and this is what I used for my wonderful masterpiece. Okay, well, this and another brush, the traveling brush that I got, because I thought I'd be using these to travel, and I will, but I moved from this to another like setup so quickly, I know. So I got myself a Princeton Aqua Elite, and this is in size 4, and it looks quite nice actually. See, looks very nice. So I love my pocket pens, and so it has moved forward to my brushes, and so I have this travel brush. Okay, and that's how it works, and it fits perfectly well into this travel set that I thought I would be using. Again, Galen Leather with their nice little pouches and boxes. Galen Leather, Eunice, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful things you send out. Okay, moving forward. And so you need your brushes. So I started off with these. They were good. But when I joined Jerome's class, he suggested a few more brushes for me, or rather a set of different brands. And so during that class, this is what we used. So you have your art creation and you have your Lumos art, and they are in sizes 2 for this type. Then you have your size 4 and your size 8. And these actually work very, very well. These helped me make this. Nice, right? So this would be enough for you. Size 4, size 8, and size 2 of this kind of brush. Still don't know what it is. Again, I'll put links below so that if you're in Indonesia, you know which ones to get. And if you're not in Indonesia, you know which ones to get from Amazon. So these are the brushes that I used during that class. However, he introduced me to another one. This is Silver Black Velvet in size 8, and this is a wonderful brush as well. In fact, I have this in this, and when I went to a second class, he had a travel brush option, so I got myself one of those. Same thing, except that one you can put into your palette. In fact, it's the one I have here in my new improved travel palette. It's exactly this one. If I can take it out today, okay, without taking everything out. All right, so here you go, same thing, size 8, also black velvet. There you go. Okay, so same thing. So we have a size 8 for that. Just be very careful when you store it, because you don't want to bend those bristles. Fits really nice. Okay, so you have your paint, and then you have your brushes, and just like fountain pens, you have your ink, you have your pens. Now you need really good paper. All right, so if you're a fountain pen user, you know that paper is super important. That's why we get ourselves some Hobonichis, and we get ourselves some of those super parchment-like papers. Well, in watercolor painting, you also need super good paper. And although these card books from Galen are fantastic for fountain pens, and they can actually hold watercolor, they also will tend to like pool like that, and that's not something you really want for your watercolor. So here is a pen, or sorry, a paper that you can use for that. This is, okay, give me a second. Okay, I just needed to fix my light a little bit. It's getting a little gloomy where I am, because I think we have a rainy season finally here in Jakarta. So I hope this light will help you and me. Okay, so you need your paper. And I was looking at all the papers, a bit overwhelming. There was like a talk about like cold pressed papers, hot pressed papers, but there was really no brand. And I was at a loss. Do I get expensive ones? Do I get inexpensive ones? Will A4 paper really work? I mean, I'm just beginning, right? Well, my answer to that is get really good paper. Not super expensive, but don't just get your regular A4 because that can be frustrating. As you can see here, some papers treat watercolors a little differently. And so I suggest you get this brand. This is Bao Hong, and a lot of the paper that I have are from this brand. Again, I am not affiliated in any way. This is not sponsored. This is just me really trying to help you navigate these waters. Okay, so Bao Hong has also cold pressed and hot pressed, and any which one will work. It'll all depend on your preference. So this one is cold pressed, and what you will see for cold pressed paper, it still comes out with really good stuff, is that really there's no texture. It's just like plain nice paper, if a bit harder, thicker than your usual. It's almost like cardstock, but not quite. So this is hot pressed. Cold pressed looks a little different. So let me just get you cold pressed. This is cold pressed. As you can see, there's more texture to it. You can actually see here. Okay, this is another cold pressed paper. Now you can see some of the texture. Okay, you see it here, right? So again, cold pressed will have texture like that, and hot pressed won't. Okay, so that's a difference. You also have a difference, say, in how many GSM it is. So for good paper, for watercolor, you need pretty thick paper. So this is 200 GSM. For Bao Hong, that works. And I also have, is this Bao Hong? This is like cotton, pure cotton, and then there's cellulose. Cellulose works as well. And this is 300 GSM. This is also Bao Hong. Huh, okay, but this is cellulose paper and this is cotton paper. And they both work quite well. The only difference is price. Okay, so you have your paint, you have your brushes. Again, the brands I shared with you, really good for beginners like me and hopefully like you. And then you have your paper. And basically that's all that you need to start. Again, I'll put all the links at the bottom for you. Now, if you want to go just a little bit fancy, and I say that in a super stretched way, you want to get a few accessories as well. And so one of the first things that you want to get, okay, I don't know where to put my paper. Okay, I'm just going to put it on the side. I'm going to put it here in case you want to have a little bit of a reminder. Okay, if you want to go a little fancy, you want a few other things. Now, some of these you don't super need, okay? Like for example, if you have this palette already, when you open it up, you have mixing spaces here where you can mix your colors. Okay, I'm not gonna go into that because I don't know enough for that, but this is where you can mix your colors. However, you can also get better surfaces to mix your color, and that would be ceramic palettes. So I have this, okay, and it will help you with your ink so they don't spread out so much like that. And attached to this, they don't fully attach. You can still take that pigment off, but when you put them here, it just looks a little different. So I have this ceramic, and because I like a little fancy stuff, I also have this ceramic. Okay, if I don't want to have too many colors, but ceramic is a good ceramic palettes would be a good addition to your set. Of course, another good thing to have would be a brush roll like this. Okay, I used to put all my brushes in the box along with my other stuff that I haven't actually used, but this brush roll is quite good too, because that means your bristles are protected. And then of course, another good accessory to have would be a fountain pen, or even one of those micron pens if you want to draw super like thin lines and you feel more in control of the pen itself. So having a fountain pen with permanent ink is a good option. Okay, so this is a Sailor Prophet Junior with a Detrimentis waterproof permanent ink on it. You might also want to have brush rests. Look at this. This is by a local maker. These are my two cats. So these are actually custom made for my two assistants so that I always have them near. And so you can get rests like that, because when you paint, sometimes you want to have a place for your brushes, so you can just have them hold it that way. So that's also quite good to have instead of having them roll around. Okay, there are a lot more things that you might want to have. Some you don't really need to purchase. So for example, you need like a brush washer. So I have this very nifty tool. Again, Jerome introduced me to this. So it can go from 1 to 2 to 3 containers. But you can also just use jars at home. I've also used jars whenever I couldn't find this. And you also will need toothpicks. So you most probably have this at home, but this is very handy when it comes to like pouring your paint in. So as you saw earlier, I had my paint in tubes, and so I had to pour them here. And I also had to pour them into my traveler's case, which I have now lost. Why do I keep losing things? ADHD brain, that's why. So here, right, so when I poured them in, they look very strange. And so I saw in one YouTube video that you can use toothpicks to sort of like swirl them in so they're a little flatter. So you'll need toothpicks as well. And what else did I need? Oh yes, and again, if you want to go a little fancy, you can get yourself a sketchbook. Bao Hong again. This one is cold press, because I like cold press paper. I like textured paper a lot, and so I have been using this for like practice and all that. So you see me practicing here and here. So yeah, so you might want to get a sketchbook so they're all together and not like spread everywhere. This was my second class. For my second class with Jerome, he taught us how to make peonies and peonies. Okay, so that was good. You also need masking tape, and it can be your washi tape, and it can be other tapes, and that's just to make sure you have straight lines. So just put masking tape there, and then you paint, and then you pull it out, and that would work. What else might you need? So paint, paper, paint brushes. I've shared with you the different types of paper, ceramic palettes, toothpicks, different palettes. Yeah, I guess that's it. That's all you really need. You don't need quite a lot. I mean, just the basics is enough. All the accessories are really just accessories that you can purchase if you want to, but just having good paint like these, good brushes like these three would be enough, and good paper like this is actually a good place to start. Of course, you'll need to have a place to put your paint on, and so I strongly suggest that you get yourself one of these. They look like they're too big, but actually when you're playing at home, this is just about the right size. You don't even need to get the ceramic palettes. You can just mix your colors here. Perfectly good as well. And I think that's about it. So if I wanted to start watercolor painting and I wanted to get all that information, this would be it. Brands, basics, and a little bit of explanation. So again, if you're in Indonesia, I strongly recommend that you go to Jerome's classes. That's Jerome_Jonathan on Instagram, or Parapa Society, also on Instagram. Again, this is not paid for by Jerome. I really just thought that his teaching skills are just wonderful. And then I'll leave links below as to the specific brands and all of that. Again, I am not sponsored, but I just wanted to share that information with you. I will be sharing affiliate links, so a little bit of it goes to me, I think, but not really quite as much as some people think it is going to be. But that just helps me with making sure I have a lot of materials that I also share back with the community. Okay, so this is Kai with Kikai Craft and all that watercolor rambling. I will be going to another one of Jerome's classes this weekend, and I'm very excited. So if you're interested, I'll leave Jerome's Instagram handle below so you can get in touch with him and join his class. Okay, this is Kai from Kikai Craft. I hope that wherever you are, you're having a great day or a restful evening. Bye, everyone.